All right, guys, as part of Rocky Mountain Race Week prep, I'm down here at Tuned by JP. This awesome shop. We're gonna go get some interior shots here in just a second, but he is going to turn the speed limiter off on the Narxcart, which I drove down and got soaking wet in. But it is beautiful outside now. We just recorded an hour and a half of podcast that I'll lay after this intro and let him get to work. So, all right, here we go. Look for some cool stuff and listen to his story. Hey guys, it's Mike back with Narxoelptic Customs podcast, episode 33. We have Mr. Tuned by JP himself, Jim Parkison, on the podcast today. I'm so excited. I drove down to his shop. So the folks that are watching this on YouTube, you're welcome. Holy crap, he works on some super cool stuff. We talk about him growing up. We talk about being born in Tacoma, Washington, and how the heck he ended up in Van Buren, Arkansas. We talk about how he learned to tune. Obviously, he was really good with carburetors, and then saw the writing on the wall, and for a while was the only EFI tuner in the area, and obviously has taken that to a whole new level. He tells us about how he tunes more than 800 vehicles a year. Wrap your mind around that, 800 of those, and what he considers a fun street car. So I hope you enjoy it. I certainly did. This will not be the last time that he is on the podcast. We're going to wear him out. He has a ton of cool stories and tunes some of the baddest stuff in the nation. So, all right, I'll stop talking. I will tell you, we post every day on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok under Narxoelptic Customs. We post every Tuesday and Friday night at 7 p.m. on our YouTube channel. So find us all there. Thanks a bunch. All right, guys, I'm so excited for you. As you heard, we're going to go over a ton of stuff with the man himself, Mr. JP, Tuned by JP. So I'm going to hit you hard right out of the gate. What is the horsepower of the top 3 vehicles you've had here in the shop?
So we've had some pretty special people come through the shop. Zach Wydell holds the top number at 2,063 rear wheel horsepower, which was really special because for about, I think 4 to 5 months, we held the single turbo LSX record nationwide.
Dang.
It has been broken since, but that car, if you go to my page, you'll be able to find that car. It's well over 1 million views. It's a really neat car, a little 65 Nova. Unfortunately, he sold that car. Doesn't have any longer, so it kind of broke my heart. Number 2 is Geronimo, a 5th gen Camaro that we did all the engine install and all the plumbing and wiring and fab work right here in the shop. And that car made 1898 rear wheel horsepower, so just right at 1900. And to be 100% honest, we struggled. That car wanted to spin the tires on the dyno.
Wow.
We are looking, hopefully, within the next year, we want to expand and get a hub dyno for the bigger horsepower stuff.
Yep. From Dynocom?
Yes.
Yeah. We talked to Allison. Her podcast drops tomorrow.
Oh, awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. And we're 1,500 horsepower down. Our dyno's rated at 3,000. We use it so much, though, the knurling's starting to get a little smooth. And it's starting to become a struggle to hold the higher horsepower cars. Matter of fact, Derek Kelly's car on here yesterday, it was spinning a little bit. So, and Derek holds the number 3 spot at 1867.
Oh, wow.
So, and there's a good possibility Derek's car can make over 2,000 rear wheel. We're struggling to hold it now.
God, that is insane.
His car's a beast and has been for several years. And so I don't want to give up too much. He keeps a lot of his information classified.
Yeah. We'll try and work that out of you here in a minute. That's one of the questions later on in there, too.
Okay.
Maybe we can get people to keep listening. That's crazy. So the top 3 cars are 2,000-ish horsepower. I mean, like, absolutely. That's wild.
Yeah, and on a hub dyno, we might see some bigger numbers.
Yep.
And so dynos are just tools. We don't race them.
Yep.
Everybody knows that. But we need to be able to accurately measure and properly load the engine to get the correct tune, to make sure that this car, when it goes to the track, that we're not going to burn it up, melt it down. So
well, and that's what Allison was talking about too, was some of the that's why the hub dyno was really developed, was because of some of the tire slip and things like that.
Yeah, and safety.
Yeah.
You know, if a strap comes comes unwrapped on there and the car jumps off the dyno, well, that's a bad deal.
187 miles an hour. It could be pretty bad.
You know, and I have some potential customers that hopefully we're going to be 3,000 to 4,000 horsepower range.
Jeez, that's awesome.
So we're excited
because obviously a lot of people know you by turbo LS stuff because your stickers are on the back of some of the fastest cars in that industry. But you've built and tuned a ton of stuff. So that leads to the second question. What's the strangest engine that you've tuned? Like rare, weird, anything like that?
Probably nothing crazy rare yet. The kind of craziest thing that's come through my shop or different, I have tuned a drift car. That was pretty cool.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I've tuned a drift car, and then I have a couple customers that do. They go to Howlett out there by Tulsa.
Oh yeah.
And do the road course stuff. So I tuned a little car that has a 22 RE Toyota engine in it with Mega Squirt. It's on Micro Squirt, Mega Squirt ECU, and just a really cool car.
Yeah.
But it's a budget based class that he runs in.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff gets kind of out there, stretched out money wise. So it's always refreshing to me to see people having a good time with cars on a meager budget, on something that anybody can afford.
Yeah.
I love to see that also. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I had interviewed the Gambler guys last night, like Gambling Ozarks and things like that, and those guys are budget minded 100% through and through. So we obviously my old truck is budget. I mean, it's 210,000 mile 4.8 out of a flipped over Tahoe that I bought for $700 and did all of So like a lot of people see your super fast stuff, and that's not the only stuff you work on.
Absolutely not. And and so over the years I've gravitated towards I'll call this similar to a drug addiction, And so the small hit, well, you kind of outgrow it and like, I need more.
Yep.
And
that happens to so many people.
Yeah, and so many people will see what I'm driving currently or whatever, and they'll kind of lose the desire to build something because I just can't do that. I'm out. And then they'll check out on it, which is never my intention.
Yep.
And that's why I say it's refreshing to see people enjoying stuff on a lesser budget.
Yep.
Back when I grew up, I read a lot of Hot Rod Magazine, and Pat Gannell was the guy. He kind of took over the helm of Hot Rod Magazine for a while, and he had a lot of stories, a lot of articles that he put together that were budget based.
That's awesome.
And so whatever I can do and I need to try to promote that more.
Yeah, definitely. And I hope the folks listening will definitely understand that, because you've tuned a tons and tons and tons of 500 wheel horsepower stuff.
Absolutely. Less.
Yeah. And what's crazy, not crazy, what's interesting about doing that and doing so many vehicles like that is, I don't know what your typical save file looks like or whatever, but you've probably done enough of those to kind of have a pretty good grasp. If people can tell you what's going on, like the build sheet on it, you can get in and knock it out pretty quick.
Oh, absolutely. I've tuned so much, and I think people lose. I do not promote myself very much, so a lot of people just think I'm race car only because that's kind of what gets brought out.
Yeah.
But I have so many tune files of just 300 horsepower, 400 horsepower cars and trucks, Camaros and Chevy trucks, that you bring that in here, and within less than an hour, I'm going to have a tune in there that's like pretty respectable.
Yeah, pretty close.
And then we're going to get it perfect after that.
That's awesome. So let's back up. Let's tell your story, and then let's tell the shop story. So what's 11-year-old JP like? Like, is he tearing stuff apart?
11 years old, a bicycle. I grew up super poor.
Yep.
We grew up 20 miles from nowhere. And to be honest, so if I backpedal just a little bit, my mother said I could make car noises before I could talk.
That's
so
awesome.
It was in my blood. My real father was not mechanically inclined. So a lot of people are like, how in the hell did you get here from there? It just was always something that when I saw a car or I heard a car, and my first introduction was just clicking on the TV, and I heard NASCAR or Indy cars, and back then I kind of gravitated. I liked the sound of the Indy and the Formula One cars.
Yeah.
But then, precisely about when I was 10, I came home one Sunday afternoon and clicked on the TV, and I just got out of church, but I tell you what, I found heaven on that TV set. And it was John Force in the Jolly Rancher a funny car doing a big smoky burnout. I'm like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, you're like, this is what's up.
And from that point on, Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, I did not care as much about those. I clicked on. I was looking for drag racing. So
that's awesome.
And for all those years until I was 18, I actually never, because I'm telling you, we grew up in the middle of the country. There was nothing out there, hunting and fishing. I did a lot of that when I was younger.
Yep.
But I really truly believe that cars were just a fantasy. And then when I was 18, I met a guy that had a Vega with a tunnel ram, and it was real and it was beautiful and it sounded awesome. I was like, holy shit, this is real. I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So 18 is when JP actually started. And that was when I was in college. I started college, met a real hot rod guy, and I built my first engine that year.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, you'd always seen all that stuff, and then now you're living it. You're like, okay, what do we do now? So I guess that answers my question that I always ask is, like, was there somebody in your family that kind of pushed you more towards that?
My stepdad was kind of a shade tree mechanic.
Yeah.
And he talked about some kind of cool cars because he grew up through the mid-'60s, and kind of muscle car era. But I would hear these stories, and I would see Hot Rod Magazine, and it still just seemed surrealistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, like I said, when I was 18 and I actually seen one,
you're like, this is
I was so hooked. It was over.
That is so cool. So, what did you learn to drive in?
Several different vehicles. An old Ford truck my dad had. Then he had an old Dodge truck, and so he kind of got me started driving around 14 years old.
Oh, cool.
13, 14, I'd drive different vehicles. Nothing really super cool.
Yep.
When I turned 15, my first car was an old Chevy Nova.
Oh, man.
And I kept that car until just a few years ago, and that became my first hot rod. That's the one I built my first 350 small block Chevy for. And then there's pictures of me. I'll try and give you one.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a picture of me in 2001 with that car on the rear bumper at Centerville.
Oh.
Yeah, so that car ran mid-fives back in the early 2000s.
Dang, that's fast.
So back then,
there was fast now. But
at our local track there, there was one other guy that was slightly quicker than me, and I mean, me and this guy, we battled. I'd win one, he'd win one. I'd win two more, he'd win, and it was back and forth, and we had a good time.
That's cool.
But anyway, so that was my cars.
Wow, that's your early cars. We're going to get into some of your stuff now because it's super cool. So, what living in the country like that? What was your first job? What'd you do?
I took a job at a welding shop.
Cool.
So I think I was 16. My very first job was just cutting grass.
Yeah.
And hay bale.
Whatever somebody will pay you a little bit of money.
But the first job was at a welding shop. I was in Votech learning how to weld. And I went to work at that welding shop. And it didn't last very long because his daughter, I think, something happened there. And so I lost that job.
Well, hey, you got to learn sometimes. All right, so you're now. Were you like sweeping floors, or were you welding and stuff? I mean,
I did some welding and mostly grunt work though. Sweep floors, grinding, drill holes,
learning characteristics of how to be a man.
I was your proverbial minion.
Yeah.
So that was me.
That's awesome. So you had said earlier that Derek's car was in here a little bit earlier. Now we know he keeps stuff close to his vest, but like, any secrets you can give up? And you can say no if you want to, but I'm sure people would love to hear it. Because we talked a little bit about...
Okay, so there are some secrets I can talk about that car. So me and Derek have had a good relationship for a long time. And maybe a lot of people don't know, I'm actually the one that named that car.
Really?
Bam Bam was my name. That was my suggestion, and it stuck.
That's awesome.
So, So Derek had a twin-turbo 5th-gen Camaro. And he wanted to race with the likes of Jacob and Jeff Spear in the day. And I've kind of been the guy that helped get both those guys started also.
Oh, cool.
But he wanted to compete with that twin-turbo Camaro, which it was an awesome car. He still has that car.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It hasn't been on the road in a couple of years. He stole the motor out of it at one point for Bam Bam.
Gotcha.
And that was, or he sold it so Bam Bam could have the monies. But anyway, that car's name was Black Betty. And we were in the shop with the little blue Turbo Fox, and we're like, Derek's like, well, what are we going to name this car? And I was like, well, you're the car's Black Betty. Betty Bam Bam, boom.
Yeah.
And so that just, it stuck, and there it is.
That's awesome.
So there's a secret.
There's a secret for Bam Bam.
Yeah.
So you said you grew up in the country. Now, does that mean, like, is that here in this area?
So my story's a little complicated, I guess. I was born in Tacoma, Washington.
Oh, wow.
And my mother and father had a very rocky relationship. My mother left my father in the middle of the night, and we were separated from him for about a year. And he was a police officer in the Tacoma area.
Wow.
And so he had connections, and he found my mother about a year later, and he wound up smooth talking her. They got back together, but the part of the deal was we moved to Missouri. My real father was born in the Camdenton area, Lake of the Ozarks area, and he wanted to get back to his roots, and so we moved to Missouri, and that went on for a couple years, very rough time of my life, and he wound up leaving again. And to be 100% honest, I was pretty happy to see him go.
Yeah.
But then, so I grew up in Missouri. Cole Camp, Missouri was my hometown that I grew up in. And then I went to college. I wound up getting accepted into College of the Ozarks. It used to be called School of the Ozarks. And I took aviation mechanics. That was my major there. And that was in Point Lookout, Missouri, south of Branson. And so that was kind of all that. And when I graduated college, I got a job down here in Arkansas, Van Buren, Arkansas, and I've been here ever since.
That's cool.
So 1992, I moved to Arkansas, and I've lived here well over half my life.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. So before Tuned by JP, what'd you do? What was your career?
So I never went into the aviation field. I didn't.
You just needed to learn the tolerances and all that kind of tight stuff.
Oh, so I mean, I have a great foundation, mechanical foundation, and the whole time I was in college, whatever I learned in class, I was applying hands-on to my Chevy Nova at nighttime, and I street raced that car, and I raced ORP outside Springfield, Missouri. Is actually technically my home track. That's the first drag strip I ever went to.
That's awesome.
And so, but yeah, I street raced, drag raced my car, and what I learned in class, I was putting it to good use. Part of my work, part of that college, the work study program, well, I spent the whole 4 years that I was there in a coal-fired steam generation and electrical generation plant.
What?
So my first job out of college was actually for Mid-South Steamboiler right here in Van Buren, Arkansas, and I worked there for 4 years as a service technician.
Wow.
But I did a little bit of everything because I have welding. I did welding for them. I did pipe welding, boiler, tube, refractory, all that hard, and it was extremely hard work. Being a boiler maker, you better be one tough MFer. And back then I was, but I'm not anymore. I'm old and crunchy now. But it was a good job. But after 4 years of that, I was tired of being on the road a lot. Just things that go along with that job. I was ready to not be gone.
Yep.
Primarily, like, when you're on the road, I will just tell you, it was miserable being in a hotel room somewhere, and my car is back here, and I would have parts. They would be delivered, and I'm like, I'm out of town for a week. Yeah. I'm like, mother.
Why? I wish I was home so I could work on the car.
I want to put my car together. I want to race this weekend. And so that was rough. So I went into maintenance. I went to a Gerber Baby Foods, and I worked maintenance there, and in Temple Inland. And then the last 10 years before I went full time at Tuned by JP, I was at Dixie Cup, Georgia Pacific Dixie Cup.
Oh, cool.
And I was always a multi-craft maintenance man. And a lot of people think, oh, well, you're multi-craft, that's jack of all trades, master of none. But I actually I'm very good at everything that I've done as far as maintenance. So I was a good welder, good machinist, mechanic, and I gravitated towards the electrical side. And so I did a lot of PLC programming and troubleshooting.
Wow. So you were born for EFI.
And that was the thing. So as we move into Tuned by JP, and maybe I should let you ask more questions. But
No. We're going to definitely talk about that because I want to tell the people about that stuff. So let's kind of stay in that timeline. So when you had that job and as the multi-craft, were you local here then?
Yes, I've all my jobs. So Gerber, Temple Inland, and Georgia Pacific, they were all right in Fort Smith, just over the river.
That's awesome.
And those three facilities are probably all within a half mile of each other.
So you're still driving past the same people every day working?
I've drove the same path to work for the last 30 years, 25 years.
That's crazy. So let's talk family for just a second.
Okay.
You married?
Separated.
Okay. Any kids or anything?
I have two children.
Oh, fun.
Hannah's my oldest, my daughter. She's 19.
Oh, man.
She's married now and expecting.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you.
Hang on. I got to ask this because this was a question I asked my dad, and it was something you don't ever think about. What's your grandpa name?
Well, Benjamin. I always knew him as Papa. We didn't call him Grandpa.
What's your grandpa name?
Oh, my grandpa name.
Yeah, you gonna be Papa, Peepaw?
It'll probably be Papa.
Yeah,
just like him.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. My dad was like, I don't know, so he had to,
The whole idea of being a grandpa is so new. I haven't really thought of it that much, but
yeah.
I always thought Papa was a really cool name for my grandpa.
Yep. So that's what we called. So my grandfather that owned my old truck before I did, his name, we called him Papa.
Really?
And, yep. So cool. My other grandpa was Pawpaw, and then we had Granddaddy, but he was Papa. So that's pretty cool. I can dig that. I can get behind that.
Awesome.
So you got Hannah,
married,
expecting, and then who else?
My son Adam. He's 14. He'll be 15 this December.
Man, I bet he loves that you work here.
So I don't think the car bugs really bit him super hard yet.
Yeah.
He does like it. It's kind of cool, but if my dad had this and I was his age, I would Dad, I'm sleeping on the couch here. You just come back. We'll open back up in the morning.
Yeah.
He's not that excited about it.
Well, and some of that too is probably because of the hours you've turned to be here and do that as a living. You know what I mean? So
probably
he's probably seeing some of that okay, when's that coming? I got one more car to tune and I'll be there in a little bit. So yep, I understand that completely. So so we talked about that. But before we dig deep, because we're going to go pretty deep on Tuned by JP and your story, where can people find you? Where social media, websites, all that kind of stuff?
So I have a page on Facebook, Tuned by JP. That's probably the primary place to find me. I may be a little bit social media illiterate. I am going to be setting up an Instagram account because I've been hit up by all the young people come through there and you got to have one.
Yep.
So I'm going to be setting that up. But right now, Tuned by JP on Facebook is where it is. I do not have a website.
Yep.
I almost kind of feel the websites maybe are dying.
Yep.
The social media platform is really the way to go.
Yep. Because you can stay in front of folks.
Yeah.
So if someone, and then YouTube, you guys have a YouTube channel?
I do not.
Okay.
So that might be something else I need to
take some of them Instagram videos that you'll record and throw them together and throw you a YouTube up.
Perfect.
And we'll talk about that later because I love the aspect of small business social media. I feel like you can't be out there enough. So anyways, we'll talk about that later. But
awesome.
So let's give the people the shop number and the email.
Okay.
And then
so the shop phone number, and here I want to give you a card.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So shop number is 479-459-9796.
Take extras if you want.
Yep. And then email. Best way to get a hold of you too. Do you have an email account? Is it Jim at?
It's Jim Parkison, all one word, and a lot of people get the last name spelling incorrect.
Yep.
So there was a split. My origin is Scottish, but there was a split. The clan said, one half of it, or actually more than half, spells it Inson. That is not the way my name is spelled. My name is Parkison. But Jim Parkison at cox.net.
Awesome. And what I have learned about you, because this is legitimately the first time we've ever met. So before we started recording, we talked for 45 minutes, probably just getting to know each other. But you're probably one of the most helpful people, is what I hear all the time. one of the most helpful people in the game.
And
So that's a huge benefit. So the reason I say that is to say that you can email him with some questions. Just don't make them as goofy. Don't make it easy. Google search
and
first.
don't be offended if I don't get back to you or not right away.
Yep.
Because I stay so busy. We just recently separated out. That number used to be the shop number you gave. That was my personal number also.
Oh man!
And I just could not get away. And it got to the point like throughout the day, I couldn't get anything done.
Yeah.
Because the phone was blowing up every minute.
Yeah.
Between Facebook Messenger, the shop page messaging, the phone, and texting, I couldn't get anything done. So we had to separate that out. Jacob handles the phone through the day now. If you call Tuned by JP, you're going to be talking to Jacob.
That's awesome. Jacob Wright that runs
Jacob
Apollo.
Wright, that's correct, yes. Yeah, he's been my right-hand guy for the last 10 years.
That's cool.
There would not be a Tuned by JP without Jacob Wright.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. So if someone is interested in setting up like for you to tune their car, what's probably the best way for them to schedule that?
Call the shop number.
Okay.
Talk to Jacob. He's going to get you on the calendar.
And I'm going to put all that, like the Facebook page link. I'm going to put the phone number for the shop and the email all in the show notes, so people can just scroll down and hit that too. Perfect. So they're not. I mean, hopefully you're writing all this information down. You're taking notes while you're listening to it, but you'll be able to pull that up at any time. And we're going to share this podcast everywhere. So hopefully that'll bring some more folks to know Tuned by JP.
Thank you.
So let's dig deep on Tuned by JP, because here's one of the biggest things for us, Stephen and I, is that we started Narxoelptic Customs to buy more car parts and not have to take it out of the money from the house, which is always a big thing. And you tell the wife, hey, I need $800 to buy this converter, there's $800 she'd rather spend on other stuff. So we started doing some stuff on the side. And so is that, like, tell us the origin story of.
So sure. I mean, I'm a car guy, and my primary focus was my hobby. This is my passion. And I started doing some side work to help fund my race car, which at the beginning was my old Chevy Nova.
Yeah.
And sure, so I do a little bit of work here and there on the side, help other people out. And to be honest with you, I really enjoyed helping people a lot. Mm-hmm. I love to see the smile on their face, when we twist the right knob or make the right adjustment or whatever we had to do, and their vehicle, car, truck, whatever we was working on, man, I think it responded. And and they'd get out of that thing and just be all amped up on adrenaline. I thrived on that.
That's awesome.
That's how it all started, and slowly grew,
morphed.
Yeah, and of course my own cars got faster. As I'd make a little money here, hey, well, that gets funneled back into my car.
Yep.
And sure, in my day job, that's the money that provided for my family and give my house over their head and food on the table, and whatever I could make on the side was for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's exactly how it started.
What was like your, and Stephen and I have every Wednesday night we're in the shop. Mm-hmm. Like that's the night the wives know about it, the kids know about it. Like Wednesday night's our shop night. And then sometimes we can sprinkle in Friday nights and half of a weekend day or something like that. But all the time, Wednesday night, now that he lives in Northwest Arkansas, that's when we're in the shop together. Was there a schedule like that early for you, or was it?
Well, and that's
you fitted around how the family worked.
So I've probably been a little selfish over the years. I'll just straight up admit it. If I had stuff to do with the car, I did it.
Yep. I can understand that completely.
So yeah, I mean, I've worked a lot of hours for a lot of years, on my own car or other people's cars.
Yeah.
To make sure that mine got going or theirs got going.
Yep. And so, how long do you think, not how long do you think, but how long did you have a regular day job and do that stuff on the side?
So, I worked underneath my carport at my house for a lot of years and worked on other people's cars there too. And never really thought of it ever as a full-time gig. I did not have an actual shop. I finally built and finished my shop January 1st, 2009.
Oh, wow.
And rolled my toolbox in there. Yeah, so like my black car that's over there, I built that car under a carport.
Dude, I bet like the boys in your neighborhood, you were the coolest dude in history.
I think everybody hated me. So
probably not. Their parents probably did.
I know their parents hated
10 o'clock at night.
Yeah. You do not go over to JP's house.
Yeah.
Get over here.
Don't go talk to that dude. So, because here is the question that I love asking. At what point, and tell us about the moment you knew, all right, I'm not going to work my day job anymore. I'm doing this full time.
So 2009, I moved into my shop, and once I had like a legit building, people flooded me. I mean, all of a sudden, you know, where I was under a carport, and I can understand, you know, people that had legit cars, and they'd come by and like, man, I hear you're good, but what the hell? You're working. I'm not bringing my car here.
Yeah.
Well, once I had a building, and people would come by and like, oh wow, and then we'd open doors up, and there's a blown alcohol '68 Camaro sitting there, and there's a '67 Pontiac GTO in the other corner with a 455 with nitrous. They're like, oh wow. Yeah. And those are my cars, and then there'll always be a third car there that was something pretty badass too.
That's awesome.
And then all of a sudden, people were like, "Hey, this guy's for real." And from that point on, I've been just covered up, and that is when Tuned by JP. You know, I think I actually showed that I started a little sooner than that, but that was legit. And then within a year, I was like, you know what, I can actually make a living at this.
That's awesome.
And so, and it was several years, you know, past that I had to get my mind right. And I had to mothball my race car and not work on it and make sacrifices and start saving money up to actually come up with enough money for the equipment and the proper building. Because that first shop that I built was a small 30 by 50 steel building I built myself. And we ran the business out of that for...
Now, was it at your house or was it at another location?
It was at my house. It's behind my house.
Yeah. So people, just like ours, people in and out all the time. Yeah. Well, and if you're doing it, you know, pretty much full time, then it was way worse than what it is for us. We work about 20 hours a week out there now. So you know, you're.
Yeah, and so you know, about a year into the tuning, Jacob Wright just bounced into my shop one day, and he got sent over by some mutual friends, but he come in there and tried to prank me, and it was almost a bad day for him.
That's awesome.
But anyway, we became good friends, and even more so, it wasn't very long after that he started working for me.
That's cool. That's cool. We'll have to have him on too, because I saw his car at 10.5 Till I Die last year. Not this year. I didn't get to go this year, but last year, and was too nervous to talk to him. Okay. Mike, and I don't really have a problem talking to a whole lot of people, but I was like, man, that dude.
I tell you, you know, sometimes racers, when they kind of get in race mode, they do project a very intimidating presence. Yep. Jacob's one of those guys. Yep. But you will not meet another guy that's probably more down to earth, just a good person. Yep.
Well, and they were not working on the car, but they were hood pop looking at stuff, and I was like, man, I can't walk up and fangirl on him a little bit, you know, because that car's fast and cool, and he's all over the place. So
yeah,
and that was before any podcasting.
Known me, if I'd been there, you know, I had to learn early on. You know, I love racing, and maybe I'll have that presence as well. But also, I've learned that, you know what, without fans, there is no sport.
Right.
And I enjoy that interaction tremendously. And I try to promote that with you know, people that I'm associated with. I always try to say, hey, you know, there's times that someone's going to come up, and you know, give them the time. If you absolutely can, give those folks the time, especially the younger people. Yeah. You know, that's it's very humbling to me when a young boy or young girl wants to come up and take a picture by my car or sit in it. You know? So if I absolutely have the time to make it, I want that.
That's awesome. So let's talk about capabilities of the shop. So you were telling me before we started recording, which I should have been recording the whole time. We would have had some great B-reel stuff. What are the capabilities of your shop here? Like what all can you guys do? Not just offer a big wall of parts behind us. I mean, you guys do all of it.
I mean, we can do custom turbo kits. You know, we fabricate, we weld, you know, engine builds, you know, complete race car design, engineering. We take care of that. The car Geronimo that was at 10.5 Till You Die this year, it only had a couple outings, so it still has a few bugs. But that car, we did everything: engine, transmission, install. The chassis was built. I'm struggling. Race car shop in Oklahoma, so we can't take credit for the chassis work. Josh Gray is the owner of that shop. But everything after that, we've done it. All the plumbing, all the wiring, all the tuning, obviously.
Yeah.
So yes, we can do all those types of stuff. LS swaps, we can do that. But folks have come and talked to us. But we do cam swaps.
Yep.
All the routine, easy stuff. We can take care of any of those kind of needs also.
There's no reason to be intimidated when you pull in, and there's race car stuff out here.
Yeah, I mean, so there's also a car out there I have to tune. We just did headers and cam swap on a 6th gen Camaro.
Oh, cool.
And I'm going to be street tuning that and then putting it on the dyno and finished on the dyno. So we take care of all those kind of things as well.
That's awesome.
Nitrous, but yeah, blowers, turbos, nitrous. You want it, we can do it.
Performance stuff. So, we've talked to Robert. I haven't had him on. Robert and I actually have recorded 10 podcasts. We just never released them. So we're trying to figure out a way to do it now because all the stuff we have on there is old,
Right.
It was like 6 or 8 months ago. But, and him and I have discussed street tuning versus dyno tuning. And then Allison the other day was saying, the benefits to a dyno is you can almost, like, it's easier to, you're not making a 150 mile an hour rip on the road to try and tune and get data. You can do that on the dyno.
Yeah, absolutely. Now if you have a truck, a stock truck, there's no need to dyno tune unless you just want.
Right. Unless you want to pay that extra
and even
money.
like anything like 400 horsepower and down, it's probably really not necessary.
Yep.
I can pretty well do it all on the street. And I used to, before I had a dyno, I tuned a lot of, we tuned Derek Kelly and Apollo. We tuned Bam Bam and Apollo on I-40 out here.
Yeah.
And we would start our pulls somewhere around 80 to 90 miles an hour, and we'd be finished around 170.
Yeah.
So,
he was telling a little bit of that the other night.
Yeah,
I don't know if we got that on the podcast or not.
And Derek's he's probably one of the biggest reasons that we have a dyno now, because he was finally like, Jim, we're going to hell. We're going to die, and we're going to hell for this. And so we actually started using Streetworks dyno several years ago, probably 6-7 years ago.
Yep.
And we had used a dyno here local, and I'm not going to say who, but that dyno was a bad experience. It was an unloaded dyno, and we took the car to the track after that, and the fueling was off 25 to 30%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
because you didn't have the load. I guess it makes sense.
So that was probably 8 or 9 years ago, and I was like, wow, dynos suck. We're not doing it anymore. We're going to go on I-40, and we're going to tune them on I-40, and the tunes would be legit. We'd go to the track, and because it was real world conditions.
Yeah.
And so I had a bad taste in my mouth over dynos until Derek's like, we can't do this anymore. We're going to get caught or we're going to die. It's unsafe. I'm like, you're right. And so we started
throwing the chute on the interstate every time.
So we started using the dyno at Streetworks. And Robert and I became friends. We're still friends. Even though we're competitors, we're still friends. There's plenty of business for everybody. Let the customers choose who they want and go on.
Yep.
But when we started using a loaded dyno, a Dynocom loaded dyno, all of a sudden, hey, we would dial them in and we'd go to the track and the fueling would be the same. I'm like, hey, these are kind of cool. So, but there's aspects of some of the tuning, streeting, drivability, transmission shift points. I still prefer doing it on the street.
Yep.
So a lot of times, we do a car here, or not a lot of times, every time we do a car here, I'm going to drive it on the street, make sure the streetability is good. Then we're going to finish on the dyno.
Yep. Get your shift points and get your normal like acceleration, because everybody then. So here's what happened when we tuned the old truck. So we got to the point where we were like, okay, we did a little bit of street tuning, made sure shift points were close and things like that, and then we loaded on the dyno because we were gonna we made like 30 freaking pulls on the truck. You know what I mean? And because we were really shooting for 500 wheel. That's what we wanted, was 500 wheel, and for the first round, And so we just kept pushing, and we were like, you never could have done this on the road, And so Robert and I were talking the other day, and we were talking about there's so many shops that are coming up that are maintenance shops. Valvoline, first lube, quick lube, whatever the heck it is. Very, very few shops, especially in this, I would say, Northwest Arkansas, River Valley, are performance shops where they are legit, like, you know, can do all the parts and pieces of it. Not like for us, we can do a cam install. We're still bringing it to you guys because I have zero desire to learn tuning. Like, I'm not going to have a race car. I want to have a good street vehicle.
And if we backpedal on that, the very first engine I ever built, when I got it all done, I'm a little different mindset, and that's why and how I've became good at what I do, because I've always wanted to do everything myself on my own car. Yep. And I got the engine built and I put it in. And I remember the old timer that was kind of my mentor, Gary Brown. He's passed away now. He was like, okay, now you just got to find somebody to tune it. And I'm like, why the hell would I do that? Why wouldn't I want to do that myself too? And so, you know, of course, back then it was just a Holley carburetor and a distributor, you know, recurve it, some springs and weights. And I was in college. I was a pretty intelligent young man. I'm like, I'm not letting anybody touch this. And so I learned to tune my own car to begin with. And then all throughout the years, you know, I've gravitated, you know, and learned step by step. So I have over 30 years of experience tuning.
Yeah, so I guess that's really a question too. I mean, you still do carburetor stuff?
Absolutely. I get a lot of dirt track guys in here. You know, the least, you know, and the least horsepower I've gained so far, a dirt track guy, they came in, they had a very good tune on their car already. I still found 10 more.
Dang, that's awesome.
And yeah, so they went back out the next weekend and they won their first race. They were like,
let's go.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So sure, I still tune carburetor stuff. Of course, nowadays, you know, the EFI, I heard a guy say one time, and I see it on a dyno so much, you know, a carburetor, you ask it nicely, hey, I would like you to do this. And you change the jets or you change the air bleeds or whatever you're doing, and you're, you know, you're hoping the carburetor's going to you're going to nudge it into that area that you want to see it get into. EFI, you just say, look, motherfucker, you do this for me, and you tell it what you want it to do, and it does it.
And it's like, okay.
So now, you know, EFI
You're the boss.
Oh, yeah. And ultimately, you know, once you learn the software, EFI winds up being easier, because I just have my laptop, and I'm like, click, 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 I want you to do this.
Yep, and it's like, okay.
It's okay,
yeah. That's cool. That makes a ton of sense. So let's stay on the shop for a bit. So you said Jacob is, you had said earlier, basically like shop foreman.
He's a shop foreman. He manages the counter and all the parts.
Any other guys that work with you guys?
Yep, I have 2 more guys. We have Jimmy. He's primarily our mechanic out there. And then we have Jimmy Neal. And then we have Brandon Newbolt. And he's a new hire, and he's an excellent fabrication guy.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, he's the one. He's fabbed up a set of headers over there on that Mustang in the corner, that big Vortex supercharged build we got going on.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
And that'll be on the video for the YouTube stuff.
Yes.
So watch the video there, too. That's awesome. So, you said you've been open 10 years, but how long have you been in this location here?
This location, 2 years.
That's cool.
So,
and it's a big shop.
It's a decent sized shop.
How many cars are out there? 8 or 9?
Yes.
Yep, something like that. And I mean, and outside there's another probably 12 or 15.
Yeah.
So
waiting to get in and get worked on.
That's really
And there's
cool.
even 2 more out in the garage there next to the house. So the house is I'll be moving into the house soon.
Gotcha. Yep. That's cool. Wow. So let's give people like what's a secret, in quotations, finger quotations, tuning tip that you'd be willing to give up?
That I'd be willing to give up. Come see me.
Yeah, that's the secret tuning tip.
I'm struggling with that.
So let me ask this. Laptop. Okay, maybe that's where the secret tuning tip comes from.
Don't cheap out on a laptop. Make sure you have a laptop that is fast. One thing I just absolutely can't stand is like you click on something and then you're waiting for it to open. So
and by waiting, he probably means like 11 seconds.
I can't stand it. My laptop from a cold boot to full lit up is 12-second boot time.
That's awesome.
And yes, very fast laptop.
Yep.
So
spend the money, because here's the thing: the difference in like a shitty laptop and an expensive laptop is half the cost of a nitrous kit.
I can't tell you how many times customers come in, they're like, hey, I want you to use my laptop so the tune's on there. I'm like, look, I'm going to use my laptop. When we're done, I will upload the tune and we'll do that.
I'll put it on a thumb drive for you and you can have that.
Or that.
Yeah.
And I've tried that a couple times with laptops and I'm just like, I'm about to throw this out the window.
Have you ever seen a laptop frisbee? That's what this is going to look like.
It's a sport.
Yeah, right? So we're inside the shop. You have a ton of super badass stuff that's all over. Like I mean, like just as an example, right now I see NOS, Holly Dominator EFI setup, Holly Sniper, ARP. I mean, there's Brian Tooley Racing intake here right beside us. There's a billet intake from what's that? Wilson manifolds. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff in here. So
and you obviously precision turbos on the end.
Yeah. Hey, them big giant. I mean, holy shit! How big is the one on the right?
Those are actually twins. They're identical. Those are both 85 millimeter. They are
huge.
Oh crap! I'm at a loss here. The class. Oh, X275. Those are X275 legal turbos. Those are mine. I got those, and I thought about putting a big block in my car, and I was going to try and spool both of those. But we're actually, so the black Camaro in the picture there, I'll digress here for a second. I am actually building a 427 LSX platform engine for that car. We are going to be getting some more precision turbos spec'd for that engine.
Wow.
And, hopefully we're going to push about 3,000 crankshaft out of a 427 LSX.
So just so people understand that are listening, there are two turbos on the countertop that is probably 2.5 feet wide, and they take up the entire countertop. It's badass. So that leads me into, do you guys sell parts? Like, could somebody just buy parts from you if they lived, say,
Absolutely.
in California or something?
Sure. Jacob has been taking care of that and shipping parts and stuff now.
Also apparel. You have apparel, hoodies.
Yep. We have t-shirts and hoodies and hats.
Yep. Oh, yep. Okay. I see them now. I might have to give me one of them before I get out of here.
If you like the Tune by JP logo, cool.
Yeah.
Hit us up.
Yeah. We'd love to see more apparel across the country. There's a ton of decals on people's cars, so that I feel like that's something you earn.
With the Tune, you get a free decal with the Tune.
That's awesome.
So that's something and it's free advertisement for me, but a lot of people come in and they're like, I get a decal, right? I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. So let me ask this, and this is going to be probably a hard one for you to answer, but what's it like to be JP right now? Like, did you ever think big decals of your shop name would be on the back of some of the fastest cars in the country?
No, that never. I never thought of it like that. And you had in the questions, what's it like to be famous? I really don't.
Oh, you're famous.
I just don't feel that. And
That's awesome.
Let me give you a little side story. I'll try and keep it brief.
Yeah.
My mother called me, and I grew up in a family, they don't really pat you on the back or anything like that. It's just, that doesn't happen. And so I don't talk about what I do down here. When we get together for Thanksgiving or Christmas, or whatever, they'll occasionally ask me like, oh, what do you do?
Yeah.
And when I always say, well, I'm a maintenance man. Well, both of my parents were school teachers. And so the maintenance man to them is the high school janitor that cleans up the poop out of the bathroom. And so I would say maintenance man, and my sisters and my parents, they'd all kind of look at me like I was special needs Jimmy. And like, oh, you clean up poop. Cool. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple times I'd be like, no, it's not like, okay, whatever. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, you win. So anyway, my mother calls me probably 3-4 months ago, and she's like, hey, me and your sister want to come visit you. And I'm like, okay, cool. And she's like, hey, Tuned by JP, is that you? And I'm like, yeah, I told you I was quitting my day job. You quit your day job? I was like, yeah, I quit my day job like 2.5 years ago, whatever. And but my mother just didn't.
She's like, I don't know.
She couldn't get her mind wrapped around it.
You're gonna go from maintenance at the factory to working on cars? Are you crazy?
Exactly. Oh yeah, and if they thought I was a maintenance man, or if the topic of cars ever, well, what do you do for fun? Well, I work on cars. They're like, oh wow. He really is retarded. he works in grease throughout the day, maintenance man, and then he can't get enough of it, so he does more at night.
That's what they're like. Yep, you're like, little do you know. That's awesome.
So it was pretty comical when they came to visit. My mom actually seen the shop, and she just...
Did you take her for a rip in BG?
Not my mom. My sister, my older sister, Carol. The last time she rode anything with me was my old Nova back, I think I was 16 or 17.
Oh my God.
She laughed at it because it was completely bone stock and horribly slow.
That's awesome.
And so, yes, she got a ride in BG, and she did scream like a little girl.
That's great. I haven't taken my grandmother in the old truck yet because it was her husband's for like the whole time they were married. He drove it for the first 10 years of them being together with a 283 and a 3-speed in the floor, and that was his daily, And then she bought him a 94 Ford truck, and so she had never been in the truck since then. So she rode in it once or twice with me once I got the interior done, but it was still small block. I mean, like a wore out 283. Like we're talking 122 horsepower maybe. And so I'm really wanting to get a reaction video from her because she's going to shit her pants when she rides in it now. So before you moved the shop number or your personal number to the shop number, the 459-9796, if anybody's still writing stuff down, how many calls and texts a day were you getting? Like, is it a shop cell? Or is it like a shop landline number?
No, it's a cell. This is it.
Oh, wow.
That's it right there. So that's it.
You got to keep it plugged in all the time, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I got to be careful because they're identical. I got the exact same.
You'll grab the wrong one and be like,
I've done it. I called somebody the other day from that number, and they're like, hey, I got a call from this number. Was that you? I'm like,
Yep.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Sorry.
So, obviously with as busy as you stay, you being present when tuning a car is important. So you move to that, but like how many calls and texts a day do you think that phone gets?
Oh my goodness. Several hundred.
God, that's wild to me. I just can't imagine.
Yeah. And I mean, I had to separate it out. There was times on Sundays I couldn't get away from it. It would ring. It's on silent right now. That's one reason you haven't been hearing it.
Yeah, there's the screen is lit up like crazy right now. I mean, just so you understand, there's Facebook messages, emails. Looks like we're on there, text messages, and it just goes on and on and on.
So I even had a customer call me at like 12:30 at night. One time.
See, and I think that's probably the hardest part for small business owners is because you want to be available for people. But at some point, like, we have to have a life, Yeah. So.
And before Rocky Mountain Race Week, I actually was just about to hit the burnout wall, or however you call that. I love what I get to do. I love helping people.
Mm-hmm.
I love to see the smile on their face when that car does something that's never done before. I love that. But you're right, and having my race car mothballed for the last 7 years almost, and then even BG, he's been 4 years in the making.
Wow.
I've actually paid to be at Rocky Mountain Race Week the last 3 years. This was the first year I actually made it.
Wow, that's cool. And so you're doing 2.0 as well.
Yeah, I'm going. I mean, that's in 2 weeks. I'm going.
So, I'm going to hang out with Stone Cipher, and I think Timmy's going to be there, and Boo. This afternoon, we're going to talk about some Rocky Mountain Race Week etiquette and some things like that. So I want to ask you those questions at the end too. But Jonathan said the other day, he said there are two types of Rocky Mountain or Race Week people. He said there are forever and never.
I'm forever.
Yeah.
So Stoney, whole Stone Cipher, Timmy, Robert, these are the guys that are like, you need to do this. It's so amazing, so much fun. I'm like, okay. And so, like I said, for the last 3 years, I've been working on BG for 4 years, ish, maybe a little longer. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost a little something with my race car. I lost having a street car, and I love having a car I can get in and just cruise, drive, and still go pretty fast.
Yeah.
So that was my goal for that car, and I thought, man, this will be perfect. I'm gonna enter and take that car. But all that being said, and they went on about how much fun it was, I still did not grasp what it was really going to be like until I went. And it immediately became my favorite time I've ever spent at the racetrack.
That's awesome.
it's a vacation with friends and newfound family members that I don't want to give up ever again.
Yep.
It was a great time.
We've done a few power tours that have come close. We've hit a couple nights of that stuff, and the thing about something like power tour is like I didn't know anybody, you know what I mean, like I do now.
Yeah.
And so this will be our first race week, and so I'm super pumped to just be out there and be a part of that entire aspect of enjoying your project car. So because that's something I think a lot of people miss. And I was listening to my buddy Matt Monroe. They have a podcast that they run to, and they recorded their first episode, and they were talking about how because they both work for like national auto parts stores, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they see big changes, and they go to the meetings and things like that are, hey, this is coming up. And so what they were talking about is they've seen the shift into not having to have a complete painted, super nice car that you wait 10 years on to be done before you enjoy it. It's like they're seeing a lot of the let's do it, like just get it running with the combo you want, and then worry about painting it later, worry about doing the interior later. Like just enjoy the car. And I think as we move forward, I think you'll see a ton of that type stuff on race week and on drag week, and people just taking the time to enjoy the cars that they've been building or getting close to building or whatever.
Absolutely. And I enjoyed it so much that if I don't have a car running, I will probably just try to be a co-pilot for somebody.
Yep.
Or even do road week.
That's awesome.
And just be a part of it.
Yep.
But I'm always going to make a dedicated effort to make my car be there.
That's cool.
It was amazing.
It's going to be a week of like legit car guy nirvana. Like
it really is. And I think one of the questions you had on there was what advice I would give.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're on a podcast. We'll be done in just a little bit. Folks come in. Well, we got the doors open on the side, and the cart's out front. So I mean, I'm sure people pulled in to see the cart. Let's stay on the topic, and then I'll pause, and you can talk to him real quick.
Yeah.
Yep. So
advice to someone is, don't get too caught up in being competitive. Enjoy the journey.
Yep.
If you are competitive, that's a added bonus, but there's a lot of people there.
Yep.
And, I was so excited just to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a huge bonus that I actually brought home a trophy, especially being a first timer.
Yeah.
But just make sure that you enjoy the trip.
Yeah. Because you can go be competitive at a weekend drag race. Like you can do that and beat on your car side. But this is like a stamina event. Like it's 5 days, it's 1,200 and something miles of driving your race car or street car or 03 Grand Marquis that has no body panels anymore, around to different tracks and racing every day.
Yeah.
So it's not about ragged edge tuning. It's about like, how can we make this car live for 5 days? Because I don't know if I want to put a motor in or a tranny or whatever. And then if you do end up having to do that, there's so many. That's what I can't wait for the trip, is the stories of stuff like sketchy roadside repair to get to the track so you can fix it for real, So I think Jonathan was telling a story about, or maybe it was Robert, I don't know, they fixed something with a stick or a straw. It was a straw that they found in the ditch got them to the track. You know what I mean? It's just crazy stuff like that. So I'm really looking forward to this event. It's going to be so much fun. What was probably your most exciting part of race week there?
I mean, the whole experience. Matt and June are top shelf people. Mm-hmm. They put together a cool event, and they promote. There are rules about helping other racers and this and that, but they promote just an atmosphere. And they want everybody to enjoy themselves, enjoy meeting friends and getting along.
Yep.
And they succeeded at that tremendously.
And there's 300 spots available for 2.0, or not available, that were available. I think they're close or sold out, but they'll take people. If you show up, they'll take you on the event, because a lot of times there's people that show up and that pay that don't show up because their car broke on the way or something like that. So,
and probably, so I made some new friends, and got to enjoy watching other people succeed.
Yeah.
At the Rocky Mountain, and that, like I said, I'm in the business to help people, so I'm always enjoying to see people enjoying the sport.
Yep. So what's a tool or part that you forgot to bring that you end up having to buy?
The radiator cap. We had a radiator cap failure, and I mean, who's going to be like, I need to bring one of those?
Yeah.
And we had a radiator cap failure.
That's crazy. Who would have ever thought that? You know what I mean?
We had to find O'Reilly's and limp it in there and get us one. So
that's funny. So this is what I'm asking them too. So should participants get more sleep ahead of time, or get your body used to not sleeping? So, because we've got 2 weeks, there's 12 days left, bud. I'm nervous.
So now I've heard the drag week, and I've never been on one of those, but I've heard that's more of a torture test marathon. Race week wasn't bad at all. I just go about your normal life and just get ready for a good time.
Okay.
Matt and June plan it out and give you ample time. The way it works is there's 2 long drive days, or there was at the first one.
Yep.
And so you're going to be wore out after a long drive day, and get you a hot shower, get you a good meal, and go to bed. But the short drive days, they're not bad. You're going to drive 6 hours, and then you're going to race. Never once was I like wore out or just fatigued.
Yep. And except for like Hank and his ice bags,
now
there weren't a whole lot of stories that craziness where you're working on stuff till 3 a.m. and getting up and driving.
Yeah. Now, knock on wood, my car, I just basically had 0 problems with my car.
That's awesome.
And I didn't even pull a trailer like Boo did. I never even changed my tires.
What?
I drove on the same 275 Pros that I raced on.
That's awesome.
And I will be putting a new set on for 2.0.
They're right here in the floor.
That's them. That's for
I'm
me.
rubbing on them right now for everybody listening.
Yeah. And I'm planning on doing the same thing. I'm just gonna drive on the same tires.
Yeah. That should be like an extra award, I think.
I thought
for people with that stuff. Now, we're running. We will not have the same tire. Like we're adding another set. We're adding a pair of used tires to another set of wheels we have, and I will not bring those 4 tires back home.
Next year I may have a trailer.
Yeah.
This year I ran out of time, and and even for 2.0 I don't have a trailer.
Well, I mean, like I'm saying that because we have a rear tire sprayer that's going to have bleach and tranny fluid in it. We're literally going to ruin tires.
Perfect.
Every time we leave somewhere, we're going to kill it. All right, so because this is more prep, how many changes of clothes should we bring? Should we bring a change of clothes for every day?
Every day.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I was wondering if anybody did laundry during the week.
I think Boo and Stoney did.
Yeah.
So I just brought a suitcase with enough shorts and clean undies to last me the whole week. Yeah. And what was I going to say? Oh yeah, you're going to be hot and sweaty, and your clothes are going to be ruined at the end of the day. You're
at
going
the
to
end of every day.
Every day. Yeah. There's not like, I'm going to wear those again tomorrow.
Yeah.
No.
So what you're saying is bring an extra bag to throw dirty clothes in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bring you a trash sack to put them in.
That's awesome. So let's get back to car stuff and the shop, because I want everybody to understand, we are literally going to do a podcast every day on race week. Maybe not me and you, but we're going to talk several times throughout the week. So I definitely want to stay on here, because we're going to have, the race week podcasts are going to be dumb. They're going to be at night. I'm going to set up microphones, and I'm going to provide free cold beer to anybody that'll sit in front of the microphone. So we're going to spend a lot of money on beer, and we're going to have a lot of fun.
I like cold beer.
Yeah, I like free cold beer, and Miller Lite's the best beer ever known to man. So we're going to have some of that too. So when I built the old truck, I knew what I wanted. I wanted 600 wheel horsepower, But I wanted that just as a number, right? That was just, I had never driven anything that fast. I've never driven at any length of time the horsepower I have now, which is like right under 500 wheel. So, but I wanted rolling burnouts and ice cream. That was my goal. Like, I want to be able to drive it every day if I wanted to, and take my 10-year-old and 7-year-old daughter, put smiles on their face while we go get ice cream, right?
Yep, Sonic.
Yeah, Sonic, Andy's, whatever, anywhere we want. Like, if I wanted to drive to here and get ice cream somewhere down here, we could do that, you know. So that was the goal the whole time. So on the aspect of goals, what is something that you hear a bunch when somebody calls about a build that really doesn't, I'm not going to say doesn't mean anything, but like if I had called somebody and said, I want to make 600 wheel horsepower, like to you, because then you're going to go, okay, what's it in? What are you working with? What's the goal of the car? What is something that somebody is, they're going to build a car, they need to sit down beforehand and figure out before they call you?
How much money they have to spend.
Yeah, budget.
I mean, yeah, budgets, everything revolves around budget. How much money do they have to actually spend? I mean, it's awesome to have a goal of, I want this much horsepower, but we have to be realistic.
Yeah.
Can you afford that?
Yeah.
Is this gonna affect your family, your home life? Or do you have enough spare money to actually, hey, I want to embark on this project, and yeah, let's see it through all the way to fruition. So that is the number one goal. Really put down, really crunch your numbers and know how much money you have to spend. Everybody sees the budget stuff, and I love that.
Yeah.
But understand, like the budget stuff, you're going to have to do 99% of that yourself.
Yep.
To really make that happen.
Yeah.
If you're going to bring somebody like me into the equation or another shop, okay, the expense is going up.
Yeah, because
you're paying me for my expertise.
Yep.
You're gonna avoid the pitfalls. I'm gonna avoid those pitfalls that a lot of people fall into. A budget build is awesome when it works out.
Well, and I'll tell this story. So 2017, I had just done the LS swap in the old truck. No, 2018, I had just done it. So I had stock 4.8, stock cam, stock everything, stock 4L80. And we had just, somebody had just cleared the VATs on the computer and set it up for the 80. That was it. So then 2019, like 3 months before the shootout, which is the end of September, I was like, let's put a turbo kit on it. So we hand built the hot side. It's very ugly, but it works. And we did decapped injectors. I mean, it's full on budget, slapping mechanics, budget build, right? We get to it went to Robert's place 3 times because I kept bending push rods. And I'm like, oh man, everybody on the budget forums and Facebook pages say I can run these. Well, I had dual valve springs, right? Because we had a cam. So instead of going like sloppy stage 2 cam, which is like a 590 something lift, we went, I called my buddy Aaron Mick at Comp Cams and said, I want 600 wheel. I need the cam, that's that, and a converter, right? So a week before, I had to order and overnight hardened push rods, new valve springs, because I had screwed up a couple because they couldn't handle the abuse from the bent push rods just not doing anything in there, and the pressure that was put on all that stuff. So the moral to that story is I probably spent an extra $70 or $80 minimum to get the parts I should have got in the beginning. So if I had written down my goals and I had said, hey, here's what I'm thinking, you could have been like, oh, you don't need dual valve springs that are 660 lift. Back your cam up some. You can go to not necessarily a hardened badass push rod, but you could step down a level, But I spent $480 on stuff that I really probably didn't need because I bought the cam that I thought So there's a lot of times I feel like that people could learn from. Everybody wants 600 wheel because they see it all over Facebook and the internet, right? All over 1320 videos or 1,000 horsepower stuff. So they get that in their mind. But 35 miles an hour, my 490 wheel horsepower truck will light the tires up. It's dangerous as hell if I get all in it,
It does what you want.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And the first time I rolled in it, once we got all that stuff figured out and the tune right, it was like, holy shit. Like I was in traffic showing off for this kid in the Fusion next to me and both tires smoking. Well, as it starts to like get a little sideways and get in the turn lane, I'm like, oh shit, this could be dangerous, you know? And there's a ton of people that have driven their SS Camaros with 350 wheel horsepower and think they need 1,000, when in reality that should be something you step towards.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
You know, and again, I've had conversations with younger folks, and sometimes even people that are a little older, because they come in and they'll spit that number off, and I'm like, well, what's the most power you've ever had before? And they'll say, oh, 300-400 or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, we can do this for you.
Yeah.
You know, I've done it. But at the same time, you know, I want you to work your way into wide open throttle.
Yeah.
You know, don't die doing this.
Well, and a transmission to handle something that's 1,000 wheel is way different than the Craigslist $400 4L80 that I have, that I then sent to Kevin Hensley to put a shift kit and a new front pump in. Like, you know, so it's interesting when people call. I can only imagine it'd be interesting when people call and say, I want to make 1,000. Okay, there's a lot that goes into it. That
absolutely.
Rear axles,
the transmission better be up to the task.
Drive shafts. I mean, a drive shaft $400 or $500.
Safety becomes a big part of that equation. You know, like you saw my car out there, it put down 1,020 at 26 pounds. BG did.
Dang.
And you know that car is it will be a high second car. It ran a 912 at 151 on last race week.
Wow.
But it has a cage in it, started at 850, and all those safety equipment's there to do that. And I've driven cars way faster than that. That's actually my slow car.
Dang, that's awesome. So, what is a power level you feel makes for you know, air quotes, fun street car? Like if you were going to drive it on the street, like you do with BG.
BG is my perfect street car. I love that thing, and like I said, I mean, I drove the thing nearly 1,500 miles. Most people drove 1,300.
Yep.
We might have got lost. so we put 1,500 on BG race
That's
week.
awesome.
Yeah, my first race week. When we came back, the very first thing I did that weekend, there was a car show down in Poto. I loaded my son up, or not a car show, but a cruise night.
Yep.
I loaded my son up. We drove to Poto for that cruise night, got some ice cream.
That's awesome.
And you know, I had a great time. Got pulled over once on the way down there. I was a little
You're like,
late.
I drove 1,300 miles with a whole bunch of race cars, never got pulled over. Dude pulled me over.
Oh yeah, which thank goodness he let me go.
Yep.
He was a nice officer.
That's awesome. He probably really just wanted to see the car.
I think that was part of it.
Yep.
I got pulled over right here in front of the shop by the sheriff's department a couple months ago, and you know, they kind of give me a little hassle, and then they're like, "Look, we just had to see the car." I'm like, all right, cool.
Okay, I can get behind that. That's awesome.
But I did add a GPS speedometer to my car now. So the
go.
whole race week, you know, I was just kind of guessing.
Pull up the Speedo app on your phone and hope your phone doesn't die.
I got pulled over there. Pecola's where I got pulled over, and I was going 77. I was like, oh shit! I didn't realize it was. I didn't. Okay.
Yeah, that's crazy. What's the setup in that car? Because we haven't talked about that at all.
So it's a new engine for 2.0, but for I'll tell you what the engine was for the first race week. It had a stock block, stock crank, forged rods, forged pistons, 6-liter.
Dang.
Had stock unported 243 heads on it. It had BTR springs and cam, stage 3 turbo cam. It has an 86 millimeter. Currently, it has an 86 millimeter Air Research turbo. I believe the Air Research is a race cover. I think it's an old Garrett turbo before they were even known as Garrett.
Oh wow!
It is ancient. The turbo's probably 25 plus years old.
That's awesome.
But it works quite well. It has Holley HP EFI. It has some really nice Siemens Deca 225 injectors. Holley high rim intake. Non-intercooled. It's non-intercooled on E85.
Yeah, that's what threw me off when I first saw it.
At the track, we did take race E85 with us, so we would drive on pump E85, and then we get to the track. I would try to have the tank down to a quarter or less, and then we would put a jug of race E85 in there just to kind of help bring the octane levels up. And the whole race week, I was street racing the car about 2 weeks before we went, and I kind of compromised a head gasket, so the whole race week, I kind of was limited on how much I could turn up the boost, or it would have been in the 8s.
Wow.
So
We had
around
to
20,
9, 12, yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of had to limit how much boost I turned it up to, and I just got comfortable running low 9s. Old Stoney, you know, I was going to run the 850 index class, and when we got there, and I realized, oh, the motor's a little wounded, I was a little bit downhearted, and Old Stoney was like, hey, just run the ultimate radial class. Most of those guys turn their stuff up too much and blow their shit up anyways. And and to be honest with you, after day 3, I was clearly in second place.
Wow.
And Hank had already he blew his car up day 1. And then day 4, he blew it up again. I'm like, hello, number 1, I'm going to do
Come
this.
on.
And then he managed to patch his car back up, and with $600 worth of ice on day 5 to get to the track, you know, I can't say anything but positive things about the guy. He worked his tail off, spent a lot of money, and you know, fantastic story for him. So he won that class. I managed to get second place, which was still amazing. And old Stoney, he gave me some good advice. Just backpedal, run this class here. Just, you know, let's enjoy the week. Don't get too crazy with your car. I'm like, well, I can't.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I had a great time. And to be honest with you, consistency paid off. Yeah. Because I don't even know if a lot of people know this. I actually finished top 15.
Wow, that's cool.
Yep, I was number 15.
Out of like 375 cars.
Yes.
Wow.
You know, I was the number 15 guy. You know, I'll throw another name. This guy probably doesn't know me or have any clue. He's one of the top contenders in overall. You know, the big boy, Royce Payton, and he turned in a poor first day showing. I think he turned in like a 16-second time slip.
Oh, what? On
day 1, and he had a problem with his blower. They figured it out. Day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, he ran like 780s the rest of the week.
Oh.
But because of his poor day 1, I beat him for the top placing.
Ah, that's funny.
So, but anyway, just enjoy the week, have a good time, run consistent, and you know, it was a great time.
That's awesome. So we are in outlaw class. So with the cart, because it doesn't look like a car anymore.
Okay.
So I'm on the phone with June, and I said I'd love to run like the 14.0 index class, because I really feel like that's closest to what the car will run. And she's like, well, I said, but the car doesn't have any body panels except for the rear fender quarter. Like, that's it, you know. And she said, she goes, well, it doesn't really fit. She's like, we can talk to Matt. She said, but I mean, really, outlaw is probably a better option, because one, there's not a whole bunch of people in that class because it's outlaw. Like, I mean, you're like, you know, big time dudes that run 6s and 7s can be in that class. She said, but sometimes those guys don't finish the week. She's like, so you may end up screwing around and placing and be an outlaw class. So I was like, we're not going to win anything. I said, let's do that. I want to go have fun. I don't care. You put me wherever I need to be and I'll be there.
Sounds like you've already got the right mindset.
Yeah.
You know, it's
I
love road tripping. Yep. I love sightseeing. And so I had never been on the ground in Colorado my whole life.
Oh, cool.
I've flown into Denver and I've flown out. So I've been through there, you know, in an airplane, which is nothing.
Yeah.
So I was really looking forward to just being part of it and getting to see what Colorado's about. And it did not disappoint. And then, you know, so it was a week of road tripping vacation, and then bonus, hey, we're going to stop at these racetracks and get to run our cars too.
Right.
I can't go on enough about how enjoyable the event was.
That's awesome. So because we're at like an hour and 15 minutes now, so we definitely don't want to give up a whole lot of secrets. So I want to go through a couple more things, and then we've got a ton of video to do, because if I'm going to be at Stone Cypher's place by 2:30, I have to leave here in the next probably 45 minutes or an hour. So, and I definitely want to show people how cool the shop is.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So being in the game, air quotations, right? The tuning game and stuff like that, since I think I looked up like 05 or 07, something like that, you know, like you've been doing stuff for other people, right?
Yeah, and I mean, technically it really actually even goes back farther than that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
How has tuning changed since the early days of that for you? Okay,
so when I first took on EFI tuning, to be 100% honest, I was probably the first in Northwest Arkansas, or almost, and definitely in this area for a long ways around, and I had no competition.
Wow.
So what has changed a lot, and I hate to even put it like this, there's been so many shops that have sprung up, and I have been the guy, I've never locked any of my tunes because I've always felt that if someone needs to go somewhere else or if they move, you know, if I didn't provide them good enough service, fine, they can go somewhere else.
Yep.
But unfortunately, there's enough of my tunes floating around that even local here, right here in Fort Smith, there's been shops that spring up, and they started with my tunes. So
Oh man,
they've
ouch.
been making a living off of my back, and you know,
Yeah.
I have to just get over it and go on.
Yeah.
But what
It's
really bites,
flattery is what it is.
what really bites is when I hear buzz back from the local scene. Oh, this shop's way better than JP. And so that's happened a few times, and really wears on me.
Yeah, they're like their first tune's your tune they've been using for 5 years.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes they'll hit it, and sometimes they won't. There's been several of them that customers have finally got upset, and they're like, "Hey," and they'll come see me, and I'll get it right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, what does the future hold? Or no. This is a better question because I'm gonna ask that one in a minute. How many cars a year do you think you tune?
So I'm going to say probably in the neighborhood of 700 or 800.
Damn, that's awesome.
I think. I think.
That's awesome. How many of those cars, percentage-wise, do you think are north of 800 wheel horsepower?
I'm going to say 20 to 30%.
See, and I think
Maybe.
like that's a big statement because like so many people want that big number, but 20 to 30% of your business is above 800. Now, if we were to say like 1,200 wheel, what does that drop it to?
Oh, goodness. I'm going to say less than 10%.
See, and everybody reads all this stuff on Facebook about that, and they can have so much more fun with 600 wheel and cruise it and not take 5 years to build it and all that kind of stuff.
And I mean, so, and once again, back to budget. You know, you saw BG sitting out there. I don't even really like to tell people how much money is invested in that car, but I have to.
Yeah.
So between paint, roll cage, everything that's there, you know, and it's a nice car. That car has 65,000 plus sitting in it. That does not include any of my labor.
Wow.
But to have, you know, technically an 8-second car that can be driven on the street, you're not going to get by cheaply to do that.
No.
It just is impossible.
That's wild. And I can't wait for people to see the size of the new turbo that's going on that thing. Insanity. Y'all, this one on here looks small. And
it's the reason it's not going to make this next event is because I'm going to have to cut the mount and sink the turbo deeper into the chassis. So the hot side, cold side's going to have to be redone. 12
damn days?
I can't do it.
Right.
Plus, you know, I have a schedule to maintain.
Yeah, and get people. That's why we're doing. We're literally recording this Sunday morning. Thank you for doing that. One, to come down and fit us in. There was no way. I really did.
You hit me up about yesterday, and I'll just tell you, I had, well, number one, we tuned Derek's car on the dyno yesterday, and then after that, I tuned another turbo car, and I did not leave here until 10:30 last night.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's crazy. So, what's the future of Tuned by JP? What do you 5 years from now? What's your thought process?
You know, I mean, the shop here has kind of already exceeded my expectations.
Oh, cool.
But we are talking about, so we are probably gravitating towards bigger, higher horsepower type stuff. But that being said, you know, once again, you know, back to the percentage of business, that's going to be a small 2-3% of my business will be that 5% tops. Unfortunately, you know, I would like to get back a lot of the what some of these little local shops have stole from me, and I'll just be straight up, it's the gravy. Like the Chevy truck that comes in for just a, you know, $350 street tune. That is the gravy of my business. That's actually where I make the most of my money, and I would like to get some of that back.
Because you can crank a bunch of that out.
I can, and so their tunes are my tunes.
Yeah.
So why not come to the original source?
Yep.
But anyway, enough being said about that. So the shop, we're talking about, hopefully within the next year, we're going to add on. We'll be we're going to move the dyno out from its current location. We're going to build on a dyno wing.
Oh, cool.
And so we'll have the wheel dyno, the roller dyno, and then I also want to invest and get a hub dyno for the bigger horsepower stuff.
That's awesome.
It's getting to the point that 1,500 horsepower down works good. You know, the dyno's technically rated at 3,000, but we're starting to see and have problems with the cars spinning.
Yep. So I was over at Robert's place one day, and he was talking about that, like a treaded tire is better for the dyno because it just allows for more grip compared to like a true slick or something like that. Because it would bite more or something like that, or the sidewall was harder. Or I can't remember what the story was, but it was something about that in comparison to
A slick will never dyno as big of a horsepower number as a radial tire. I will agree with that.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, even the other day, I don't know if you saw the blue Corvette sitting outside. We had lower tire pressure in there. It's a natural aspirated deal. It just made the biggest horsepower number of any NA car.
What?
Yeah. So far on my dyno.
Badass.
Yeah. So
like
we had the tire pressure.
Out of the hood and stuff.
Yeah, it's got some like drag radial type tires, and we had the tire pressure at 15, and it made a pull and made 600 even.
Wow.
We aired them up to 30, and it made 670.
What? That's insanity.
Yeah, it blew my mind because when it first popped up, I thought it said 570. I'm like, what the hell? It lost power. And I'm like, hold it. No, that's 670.
Wow.
It was 671 rear wheel horsepower.
That's crazy.
And the only thing that I've had close to that, we had a big block Chevy on alcohol, full drag race deal, and it may have beat it. It might have been.
Wow.
It might have been right at 700 wheel.
That's wild. And
But
that dude will drive that car all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bad boy right there.
Yeah.
You'll see that one up Northwest Arkansas.
I was gonna say, alcohol car won't.
No.
You're not cruising that thing around.
No, it was a tube chassis
Yeah.
race car. The other one was.
So what about the future for you? Not the shop, but for you. What's the future hold for you? Get the black car back out?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, the black car is going to be coming back out next year. I had so much fun at Race Week that I'm really contemplating trying to make that car a driver.
Whoa.
So
with twin pro mod.
And I mean, I don't know that
275.
it'll happen next year. I just want to get the car back going and get to the track. But I am considering it. So whenever we engineer and get this planned out, I'm going to try super hard because BG's a lot of fun. If BG winds up being my fallback car to go to Race Week, cool.
You're not crying.
I'm not crying. It's a great car. It's comfortable.
Yep.
Now the black car, we named it Toothless after the dragon years and years ago, and that's a long story. But so that car is known as Toothless. But if we can get Toothless worthy and able to do that, I would love to jump into and compete in the unlimited class.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So these last 4 questions, because we got to leave people's mouth watery, right? So the last 4 questions are something to ask everybody. So what is the fastest, not necessarily on the track, but on the street too, that you've ever driven? Motorcycles, cars, anything?
Oh, it's definitely Toothless. Toothless has been 461 at 161 in the 8th mile.
Dang.
We took it to Tulsa. So I've never made a good solid full quarter-mile pass. It broke the blower belt about 1,000 foot, and I coasted to the quarter at 744 at 183.
Jeez.
But a 461, if the mile per hour is right out the back door, Toothless should have been about a 70690 car at 200.
Wow.
And so when we get done with the twin turbo 427 LSX, my goal is to run mid to low sixes at well over 200, 220, 230.
Damn, son.
My bucket list is to have over 200 mile per hour check mark beside my name.
That's cool. That's
but anyway,
fast.
that's the goal. Yeah, I'm tired of being slow.
Tired of being slow. I've only went 183.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So when you're in the shop working on old ratty stuff, like the stuff I would bring you, are you a WD-40 or PB Blaster kind of guy?
PB Blaster is my go-to for breaking bolts loose. They used to make some stuff called Zep, which you can't get anymore.
Yep.
But that stuff was the best on the market for rusty, broken, stuff like that.
I wonder what happened to them.
Now WD, it has its place. I use that more for like protecting stuff. I use a lot of WD on alcohol motors. Like after we get done running one, we shut it off clean, shut the fuel pump off or whatever. On my blown alcohol deal, I would kill the fuel pump, and then I would take WD and I would crank the motor over and just soak it down the intake, because that WD will displace the methanol in the water.
Oh.
And it will protect cylinder walls. So
Genius.
and it's way better. And plus, I'll just straight up say I love the smell of WD-40. PB Blaster, I can't stand the smell of that shit.
Yep.
Is it effective? Yeah, but I don't like it.
Yep. That's awesome. So when you're working in the shop on cars, are you a gloves or bare hands kind of guy?
I'm a bare hands kind of guy, especially when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
As I've gotten older, I have to wear gloves at times, depending on what I'm doing, because my hands just aren't as
Get
tough.
that extra grip.
Protect my hands more than anything. You know, back when I was younger, my skin was more like leather, and I didn't ever wear gloves.
Now you're getting soft.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
kidding.
My shit rips. You know, I cut easier, and I don't heal very fast anymore.
Yeah. So if we're going to say unlimited budget, somebody else is paying for it, you don't have to worry about it. What's your dream car?
Okay, for all out full tilt race car, it would be me start over and build another '68 Camaro full tube chassis deal, round tube chrome moly. I want a 481X engine, twin turbos, and something that I can make around 5,000 horsepower with.
God.
So that is my ultimate dream car.
Wow.
Is to build something like that and then drive that.
That's
You know,
insane.
a lot of pictures I show people of my cars, you know, like the Nova back in the day when it was on the rear bumper. And a lot of people, like, maybe I don't look like a race car guy. And they're like, who's driving that? I'm like, well,
It was me.
It was me.
I put it on the bumper. That's awesome.
So-
Well, I want to say thanks again for you taking the time to do this with us, because we've got another 30 minutes of recording that we're going to lay over the YouTube first part of the video. So we've got to get to that, because I got to get out of here, and I got to get out of your way because you worked so dang much this week. So I want to say thanks, everybody. Please go follow Tuned by JP Facebook page, his soon-to-be Instagram sometime soon, and all that kind of stuff. All the stuff will be in the show notes so they can get a hold of you with any questions, and hopefully bring you some tunes and pick your brain on some combos and stuff like that.
Awesome.
So, all right, man. Thanks a bunch.
Yes, sir.